trying to get to actually focus on me this time. Okay, so this is my video discussion post, Sarah McKinney again, for week 2 of Survey of Musical Theater. So I found the chapter this week to leave me very frustrated at honestly just the inherent racism that still happened at that time. Like, I know what happened, I understand that it happened, but I did find it highly frustrating. I took so many notes throughout all of this, but yeah, it just, that was frustrating, and I talked about a lot of that in my discussion post. Now, I also appreciated that Stempel defined both the variety show and the variety theater for us. That the variety show, it was referred to as simply a succession of different things by Bert Lowry, the journalist, and that variety theater as an institution refers to an organization for producing variety shows whose characters shifted over time from an establishment originally offering refreshment with entertainment to one ultimately offering entertainment with some refreshment, which he said on page 56. Then just defining each, the minstrel show, the vaudeville style, what concert saloons were, which drew me right back to the American Wild West and the vagrancy and migratory existence that a lot of Americans had still during this time. I was wrapping up towards the middle of this Gilded Age time period. But for the majority of America using these variety shows, like in chapter 1, it still very much functioned because needing the variety show instead of straight plays because you had so much change of information, or people were moving because the money wasn't there, or someone got sick and died, or whatever happened, and being able to just throw in another act to entertain your crowds without having to rely heavily on someone memorizing things or any of the, what we think of as the classically trained theater techniques, is kind of a big deal. And that definitely still shows through this, that improv was king, which I wrote several times. There's no plots, there's no storytelling, we're not being politically correct. It's like Mad TV and Saturday Night Live, but if they're not going to get in trouble or canceled by a network for being too outlandish. I was highly frustrated that it was that the minstrel show was basically just blackface groups. I also, in the beginning of the chapter, when I was reading about Othello being done as Desdemona, an Ethiopian burlesque, I was like, okay, so it's a strip show, that's crazy. But then later on, when actually talking about burlesque and Weber and Fields, Stempel pointed out that there are 2 different types of burlesque, or there were originally, and that there was the leg drama or the leg show that focused on the sexuality, or that was the hot show, and then there were clean shows that were really just downplaying the sexuality, and they were more farcical or satirical about things that were in vogue and popular at the time. So I found that interesting as well. I also found the fact that Weber and Fields hid their culture interesting, although I did not see that Harrigan and Hart really did that. And obviously Williams and Walker couldn't, because you can't hide your skin color. But the fact that it was still, wanting to hide that they were Jewish, and so they picked Germanic instead as immigrants as their characters. That was interesting. I'm saying some things were interesting a lot. I'm wanting to make sure I hit my time, and I'm rambling. I had a more coherent string of thought. I did. It's every day this week has been a week, so my brain's slightly fried. It was interesting that Harrigan and Hart used a stock company. I also thought it was kind of funny, and they're the ones, yes, I want to make sure, yeah, that Hart, who was the one playing like the feminine character and the falsettos and all of that, left the company I picture on not the best of terms. Like, I feel like there was some like headbutting, and Harrigan's like, we gotta do this like right, and Hart's like, I want to be an actor, I want to be like a flaky artist, but then dies of syphilis in 6 years, whereas Harrigan was married and managing the theater and managing the money and doing things very well. I apologize for my dog going nuts in the background. It was also interesting to me that the Black Crook popped up under all of this. So that was very heavily influential for all of the groups that we were focusing in on, and everything in variety theater throughout this. And then I made the note, for those of you also in the Development of Modern Theater class, that I wonder how much vaudeville had inspiration towards the constant change and chase of Holy Theater, because there were several times during the reading of this that I was like, it sounds a lot like the experimental. I am in the middle of doing something. Both Brooks and I'm blanking now did a lot of just theater of cruelty, just lots of throwing things out there to see if it worked or not in the chase of Holy Theater. And that kind of felt like how vaudeville and variety shows were being described in this, in the chapter and in the article. For the article, I just really appreciated the detail of looking at Shuffle Along, Showboat, and Porgy and Bess as seeing the transitional changes coming out of the minstrel style and variety style into actually closer to what we see as American musical theater, and how much each of those little changes, while they don't seem big looking back, because we still see a lot of caricature in the characters that were written into these stories, there is actually a big deviation from the actual caricature that we were seeing in the minstrel style shows to what we're seeing in Showboat, where we have people who are black who are also able to be just real people who are consistent and stalwart and hard workers and not flaky or unreliable, just singers. And I thought that was really nice and interesting, that going into that detail. Also seeing that both Shuffle Along and Showboat had over 500 show runs, which was a lot at that time. And I guess in my head, I didn't realize that Showboat was from 1927. I thought it was written closer to the 1954 movie time, so that was also interesting for me. Yeah, those were my big takeaways. That just look how far we've come, and it's interesting looking back. We know history and big changes are made with little moments, but to actually see how both little and big those moments were at the time, like from a historical perspective, if we can try to put ourselves back in that mindset, that's pretty cool. That we can look at history that way to try to help us move forward and recognize that a change may be really small now, so small it may not even really feel like a change, but we don't know what kind of ripple effect that's going to create in like 5 years, 10 years. We don't, our generation, we don't know. So that's what I'll leave you with.